I'm John from ZonGuru. This is our headquarters here in Los Angeles. And welcome to Amazon Seller Insights. This is episode 15. And you know what we do is every month we just bring in an expert who's crushing it on Amazon, like this guy. And it's really just our chance to learn from them, to be inspired, and really just hopefully glean something from that we can actually use for our own Amazon business. So today I'm super pumped for this one. We have Brandon Young all the way in from Florida, and we're going to do some deep dive into advanced product research. It's going to be awesome to kind of get into that. I've seen you do it a few times at some big events, and just with like sitting down with like really expert sellers. And I think that your strategy in terms of like how you actually dive into products and how you look at keywords and data is like super smart. And I'm just excited to get you to share that with the group today.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So how we're going to do this is we're going to run through a little bit of Q&A between us. Then we're going to do a deep dive over the shoulder, and we're going to look at some strategies from Brandon. And then we'll end it with some Q&A and open it up to you guys so you can ask some questions as well. So I think just before we dive into the first couple of questions, we actually met in Vegas, I think 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It was a notorious trip. It was actually one of the first Prosper shows, and we met there, and it was a bunch of like really big sellers. I think we had like Adam Hudson there, we had Keith O'Brien, we had Michael Quinn, who everyone knows well, Eric Dahl,
Anthony Bouitran.
Yeah. It was just like this great magical moment of like all of us meeting up, and we went to a dinner that Brandon organized. And one thing about Brandon is he's just really good at getting people together. I think wherever you go to an event, Brandon is getting a bunch of people together, and just bringing us as Amazon sellers who sometimes are lonely doing our own thing together. And into masterminds. So
we're going to go drink after this, by the way. So,
that's
and on that note, Adam Hudson picked up dinner like a boss.
Yeah.
What a fucking legend that guy is.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, we're all these successful Amazon sellers, and he's just like, no, I got it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I just met this guy, and he just bought dinner. It was like $1,000 bill because it was at Nobu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Nobu, and he's just like, no, I got it. Like, what a boss.
He used my credit card for that.
What a dick then. No, I'm just kidding.
And what was great, if you don't know, is he's got a legend golf swing. If you hang out in Vegas with him, we always go to Top Golf, and he shows us how it's done. And then you're obviously part of the $1 million mastermind as well, which I know from talking to you and talking to others, you put a lot of effort into that, and all the guys put in a lot of effort, and you guys are at the cutting edge of what are the best strategies, what are the things that you actually need to know in this space to be successful. So just being able to share some of your thinking and your knowledge with us, and everyone who's watching is going to be great.
Yeah, I tell you what, like one of the biggest breakthroughs in all of our journey has been networking. And so that's why I put a lot of effort into giving as much as I can, because I know that anything I give, I'm going to get back tenfold. And so, even with that dinner, like some of those people have become some of my best friends in this world. And I look forward to any time I'm going to be in the same city with them. And we just got back from dinner just now, and there were 12 of us there. And, a bunch of guys in the room that are in MDS, 7- and 8-figure sellers that are just monsters. So during the networking afterwards, feel free to, pick their brain, because a lot of us are just very open and giving because we know that it's been the biggest takeaway for us are like the little things. And it doesn't take much in this business to move the metric even a point or two that can make a difference between, not being profitable to making $1 million.
Yeah, so thanks guys for being here, and to the regulars here as well. It's a great opportunity to meet some of these really, really top sellers today. So hang around and ask questions for sure. So let's dive into a few questions here. You've been selling what, like 3 years now, 3-4 years on Amazon?
Private, yeah. Selling total for 4, private label 3 years as of like June. We went to Canton Fair. We're on our way. Tomorrow we fly out to China to go to Canton. My wife and I, who's here in the back of the room. And we went 3 years ago to Canton. We launched our first product when we got back after that. So it's been about 3 years.
Yeah. And so if I'm correct, you're moving up to right in that 8-figure mark annually. And maybe what you can share with the group here is 2 or 3 things in your business that you can look back on and say, hey, these were really important things that happened in my business that helped with the success of it. It can be anything, covering any part of it, but maybe you've got a couple of things you can share.
Yeah, so the first part I already mentioned, which was networking. Getting into rooms like this where you have other sellers around you that are at different stages or that have learned different things, because all of us are good at certain things, and we're all bad at certain things. And one of the biggest lessons my wife has taught me is what I'm bad at, and then admitting that I'm bad at it, right? So, but knowing yourself is really important as an operator, as a business owner. And so when you get in a room with someone else that complements that skill set, you can ask them what's working for them and how they're handling it. And even though it comes easy for them and it seems difficult for you, you probably have something to offer them in return as well. The other thing I would say are failures that we learn from, which there are numerous. But every single time you launch a product or everything you do, you have to be try to plan ahead. Obviously, like one of the biggest things for me is that if you have a goal in mind without a plan, it's just a dream. So you should always be trying to figure out the best way to get there. And we're very data driven and data oriented, as you're going to see. And so we've had failures. And very early on, there wasn't the help or the opportunity to do the research ahead of time. And so we had to learn from those failures. And so everything you do, success and failure, make sure you learn from it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so touch on that just for a second. When you were talking about planning, which I think is absolutely critical, but what's your technique in terms of your guys' planning? Do you have like a massive whiteboard that you update every quarter, or how do you, is it all in your head, or how do you do your planning?
I tell you what, it's like organized chaos. It's really a lot, and we're trying. The biggest thing for us to go from, that 6-figure, that 7-figure, that 6 million mark to 12 million and beyond is growing the team. So as we grow the team, that's one of my weaknesses is hiring and managing, and I'm very aware of that. My wife reminds me every day. So we're working really hard on that aspect. So we implement a lot of management tools. We use Asana, for example. Yeah. We're able to track the products. So for right now, we have close to 50 products in our pipeline. And so we understand that we have buckets and we have different stages of each product. And so we've created different systems, and each of the products has to go through each of these systems in order to get to launch and beyond. So at any given time, we might have a lot of products that we're just experimenting and looking at, and then we have a lot of products that are in research or sample phase or ready to be launched, and we're revising, for example, the boxes and artwork and content, and then it's ready and launch, and then it's in launch phase, and then it goes through growth phase, and then after growth phase, it might eventually, hopefully, get to like a phase where it's just in cruise control, and but that whole process might take a year or more, depending on how long and hard the launch is, how competitive the product, things like that. So we're constantly just updating the Asana, working with trying to grow our team, working with our team to handle different aspects of those phases.
Yeah, I think that the project management tool thing is key. We use Trello a lot ourselves, but it's a similar kind of setup where you can move it through the phases, which is great.
Yeah, Trello's good.
So you mentioned those failures and how important they are for learning. Could you just dive into maybe one or two, either a failure or a success that really gave you a learning? Because I think it's important for anybody at any phase to know that failure is obviously part of the journey, and it's an important part. If you're not failing, you're not pushing hard enough, in certain ways. So
I agree.
Maybe you can just dive into one or two examples that have really helped you.
Absolutely, and I think it was Liron that just posted. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and we've become closer. He just posted a quote from Jeff Bezos that said that if you're not, the larger you grow, the larger your failure should grow as well. And if they're not, then you're not pushing hard enough. And exactly like you just said. So very early on, without a lot of data and just listening to free podcasts and then the different things that we had heard and learned, it just wasn't enough data. So we were able to launch a bunch of products that we had mediocre success with. I would say that our success rate was maybe in the 30% range. And we launched a product. A big breakthrough for us was we launched a product that was a toy. And it was similar to a Lego, but it had lights in it, and it was a kit, right? So if you guys have heard of I can't say their brand. There was a lawsuit involved. But They didn't win, but it cost me a lot of money, and I don't want to mention their name.
Yeah, sure.
F them. But anyway, so we failed on this product, but it was like a Lego kit, and Lego doesn't own like the blocks anymore. They lost their patent, and so what I didn't understand though before I launched that product is that it's very important before you launch a product that you understand how people are going to find your product and buy it. And if you don't understand how people are going to find your product and buy it, then you shouldn't launch that product. And so in my assessment of the product, before I decided to do it, I was like, this is a cool toy. I'm a big kid at heart. Like it was awesome. I saw a competitor that was like in stores nationally that was selling a similar product, not the same. And definitely wasn't infringing on the patent. But so the lesson there was that after it failed, I realized that people aren't going to Amazon and they're not searching for bricks with lights in them or Lego kit with lights. And if they are, they want to buy Lego. So really the breakthrough for us was, okay, it's really important to map out how your success is going to look before you even choose the product. How are people finding similar products? And are those keywords that you will convert on? And that was the big clicking point. That lesson alone, even though we only lost a few hundred units, we ended up with a lawsuit losing close to 50 or more thousand. That lesson alone will make me millions of dollars. Because from that point forward, I wouldn't choose a product unless I had a really clear path to ranking proper keywords for it. And keywords became the foremost part of our research. And from that point forward, I think we've been close to an 80% success rate.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting insight. I've always known you as this keyword guru in terms of using it to find your search, but relating it to an actual failure that hurt at the time and that put you onto that path is just obviously showcasing that you learned from that and you used it to move forward with the business, which is great. Awesome. So let's one real question before we dive in again. I think it is 2019 with Amazon and maybe you can touch on some great things or some negative things that are happening in the space and what do you feel is like where things are going with Amazon? I know there's a bunch of things happening right now. Is there anything that stands out to you in terms of, hey, these are like great advantages around it? Because there's obviously still massive opportunity, but here's a couple of things that,
Yeah, so a lot is happening on the Amazon side. It's always changing, obviously, you guys know. And I think that it's actually good news. So a lot of the tactics that used to work for launching and all these launch services and cheating your way to the top in a sense, a lot of those loopholes are closing. And I think that the people that do the proper research and understand keywords better and understand the data better and choose better products, they're going to have a massive advantage in the future. Second to that is that you need to be focusing on growing your audiences off of Amazon. So you need to be focusing on building Facebook groups. You need to be focusing on growing messenger lists and chatbot lists, because those are people that you're going to be able to call on when it's time to launch that can serve as a launch list for you. And you can work with those people in ways that you normally can't with random customers. And so with the way that Amazon's moving, they're closing loopholes where certain URLs will get your account suspended. And this is only as of this week. We've seen a few people that are like, I just did this launch and now I'm suspended and that's the only thing I've done. So we don't know if it's the fact that they used a lot of 90% off or whether they used a specific URL, but it was probably a combination of the two. And I think that things are moving in that direction. The other thing is that we know that cheating on reviews is going to get you suspended, and that they're getting better at tracking the data and tracking where those reviews are originating from, that a lot of the tactics being used by a lot of the sellers overseas are just not working anymore. And so my wife, being from China, monitors a lot of that. Like we're in WeChat groups where people talk about how their accounts get suspended on a regular basis now because they were using these tactics that they were taught at a random seminar in Shenzhen or whatever. And so because things are getting harder for everybody, the better you get at this, the better it's going to be for you. And so it becomes more about the data, it becomes more about making better decisions and how big of a list you can create off of Amazon.
Yeah, I think that building of a list over time is probably one of the biggest things that can impact my business in terms of having that asset, because you're building an asset that you can obviously use for relaunches and stuff. So yeah. It's massive, and whether you're doing that through a website or if you're doing it through your insert or doing it through Facebook Messenger, it's absolutely critical. Awesome. So one further question. You're going to Canton Fair. You've obviously been there a lot. Your wife is from China. Maybe you can give the audience a little bit of advice. Like, if you're first time going there, like, what are your thoughts? Or on the other side, like, now that you've been there that many times and you have a relationship there, what does your like day in the life look like when you're going over there compared to when you first went? You know, that's quite a shift.
Yeah, it's definitely much different now. I mean, we're going mostly to visit factories that we're already dealing with or that we're about to deal with, and we've made decisions on their products. For the most part, we were a little naive when we first went. We would go to every booth thinking that they were actually a factory because they would tell us they are, but 90% of them are full of it. So you're going mostly just to see new ideas. The goal at every single time we go to a show is to take a picture of the products, maybe take a picture of the card so you can ask questions later, and then move on, and then do the research later and determine whether that's a good product. If you find that it's a good product, then you do the deeper dive later to find the real source, find the factories that can deliver a good product. And oftentimes you're going to find a better price from a real factory, like on 1688, for example. And so for the most part, we're going for ideas. We're going to visit factories and relationships that we've already established. We're better at taking notes, less naive about building relationships of people that are just brokers type of thing, because we don't need to waste time dealing with people like that. So it's a much different experience, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like that in-person experience going to China and going to the Canton Fair and just, you know, from an ideas perspective and a creativity, it's mind-blowing for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'm also speaking, I should give a shout out to Athena. I am one of the mentors for China Magic. She leads a trip of like 70 sellers. And so I'm showing up for a couple days. I did a talk with them like before, just helping them choose the right products, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed. You're going to see millions of products that you're going to walk past in a few days, and unless you do the research properly and can qualify those products, then it doesn't matter, because you're going to want to do 100 products and you have no idea whether they're going to be successful. And it's about choosing the products with the best opportunity and the lowest risk.
Absolutely. Awesome. So thanks for going through a couple of those questions before we dive in, but I think it's time for us to dive in and talk through some of your strategy around, like, advanced product research. How do you do research? How do you use the data? And then we can do a little bit of a deep dive on your screen. So that'll be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm really excited about the keyword tool that you guys have coming out. So I've been talking with Jonathan a lot about the type of research we do and what's needed. And I think that you guys are going to be in for a real treat when that launches real soon. The thing is, the way that we look at things is that we want to understand how the sellers we're about to compete with are getting their sales, and how we need to evaluate how good they are at Amazon. Because why would we choose a product? There are millions of products. Why would we choose a product that is a very low opportunity and all the sellers are very good at Amazon? They're already saturated and crushing that market. It would be a high risk product. So we have two different scores that we give each product. We give a score to opportunity, and the way that we define that is that that's the number of keywords that are relevant, that people are using to buy that type of product. So that's a relevancy score and an opportunity score. The second thing we do is we evaluate risk. Now, risk has a couple different ways that it's impacted. One is that all of the sellers are good at Amazon. That means that we're diving into a market where it's already saturated. We know we're going up against a lot of sellers that are good at Amazon. The other thing is cash flow outlay and capital outlay. So if we're going to be exposing a lot of capital, that obviously is a part of evaluating risk. So once we evaluate how risky it is and how much opportunity there is, and we evaluate a lot of products, then the cream naturally rises to the top, and we're able to choose which products in our pipeline we want to do. So if we look at 100 products, for example, we'll probably have 10 or 20 that are low risk but good opportunity. And so I'll dive into a little bit about what opportunity means. Mm-hmm. Let's say we look at a product and it only has 6 good keywords. And by good keywords, I mean with at least 500 search volume that are relevant. So the top sellers, there's only 6 ways people really search for it and buy it. That's a low opportunity score for me. And the reason I wouldn't do that product automatically is because I know that it's going to be very easy for competitors to compete with me. They're going to get lucky and be able to find those keywords. They don't need to know how to do the research that I do in order to find those keywords. They could just get lucky and do it. So I'm going to have a lot of competition. So even if I'm one of the first to market, I'm thinking to myself, how is this product going to survive for the next year, 2 years? What's the life cycle of this product if there aren't a lot of ways people are searching for it, and I don't have a competitive advantage over the next guy that decides to do this product?
So just to dive in on that a little bit. So you're saying that, okay, if there's 6 keywords, it's like there's 6 fish in a bowl and everyone's going for it, right? So you're looking for more, where are some of those longer tail keywords or more that have over that 500 search volume? And there needs to be breadth there for it to be interesting for you to go in.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I don't see at least 15 to 20, and anything between 20 and 40 I would consider medium opportunity. And I would say that that's something that I would consider doing, depending on how good the competition is. So then it would pass that test. Anything with more than 40 keywords that are relevant with at least 500 search volume is very high opportunity. That's a product that people are finding it many different ways, and it might be just because there's a lot of ways to describe the product, or there's different sizes and variations, or whatever it is. And so what I'm able to do is rank my products for the majority of those keywords, whereas I know my competition likely is not going to be able to, or even find those keywords in the beginning to begin with. So if I find like the ones with 40 keywords and then the competition is low, that's a low risk, high opportunity product.
Great. Maybe just a step up from that. Do you, in terms of your process for looking for products, do you start with keywords only, or do you actually starting with, just going through random keywords and seeing what's coming up through keyword generators and the tools that we have? Or are you actually spending time on Amazon looking at products first and then diving down into the keyword analysis? Or is it both? Maybe a little bit of that.
Yeah, so we have a couple different ways we find products to begin with. Like we'll start with an audience and we'll just do a search and we'll go to page 12. So like if I want to do something for fishermen, for example, I would just literally search for fishermen. And on page 14 of fishermen, you're going to find products that are selling well. It doesn't matter that they're indexed on page 14, in ranking on page 14 for fishermen. What matters is where are they getting their sales from? What are the keywords that people are actually using to buy that product? But it's probably a product for fishermen because it's indexed for it, right? And so then I do the reverse ACE and I look at how they're getting their sales.
That's really interesting, man. That's super cool. So you're going with a broad term that's general for an audience, and then when you're on page 14, you can narrow that term down to fisherman, tackle, whatever it is, which has got volume, and then you do your analysis. That's super cool. I like that.
Yeah, and then there's also the keyword tools like Black Box from Helium 10, and then the Viral Launch one, where you could put very specific criteria: number of sales, reviews, selling price, things like that, and then it'll spit back everything on Amazon that meets that criteria, and then we'll be able to dig through slices and then find products that are selling the velocity we want. Maybe there's, you're not going to always get the market leader there, which is interesting because you're going to find that one guy that's selling 600 a month, and you looked for 600 a month, but there might be 5 better sellers than him selling more than 600. So you have to take that guy, you have to look at all the keywords he's ranked on, and then search for those, and then you're going to find the market. You're going to find who else is on that, and then you can get an idea of who the market leaders are, and then look at the more sellers you look at of a product, the more data you have, and then the better decision you can make on whether to do that product.
Awesome. Yeah, and thanks for that shout out earlier. Just so you guys know, we are in the process of finishing up our keyword tool, and hopefully, if you guys are here, we'll be able to give you some access to try it out on beta. But all of the good things we'll have replicated, and then we've got a bunch of other stuff that we're going to add, and we actually work with Brandon to kind of really look at some of these niches. So it's going to be exciting. Okay, cool. Do you want to dive in and cover all?
Yeah. So I know we're kind of limited on time. So I do a masterclass once every month, every other month, and when I'm not doing it live, the replay is always available. You can find the link on my website to go find it. It's also AmazonPrivateLabelCourse.com, I think, is the direct link to the masterclass. The last one I did was last week. It was 5.5 hours, and nice. I don't hold anything back, right? But I walk through live examples. I'll find a product randomly. So what I want to show you guys is the sheet that I created when I did the live class. Just to fast forward to it, I found a product using a tool like Black Box. I actually found this with the audience method, actually.
Interesting.
Which is, so I found this product with the audience method, and then I went and I found all the leaders selling the similar type of product. And I took the 10 of them and I stuffed them into Helium 10, and in the future, it might be your tool,
Yeah.
hopefully. And then,
It will be.
yeah, and so we stuffed them into to helium-10, and we did a reverse ASIN. And when you do what's called a reverse ASIN, you're seeing every single keyword that each ASIN is indexed for. But just because they're indexed for something, it doesn't matter, right? What you care about is how are they getting their sales. So you need to narrow that down based on how many of the keywords they're on page 1 for. So what ends up happening, and this is a sheet that I want to show you. What ends up happening for this type of product, which was an air freshener for cars, I took all 10 sellers, and each of these ASINs here are the top 10 sellers of this product that was specifically for cars, air fresheners for cars. And these are all of the keywords that they were indexed for. And if you scroll down, there's a lot of keywords, right? And this is every single keyword with more than 500 search volume. Huh. And I've cut out, what I've done is I've created my own formula here, which is basically telling me how many of them are on page 1, or this was top 30, how many of them are in the top 30 for that specific keyword. So I had to pull data from another tool. I had to manipulate the data to show me how many of these competitors are in the top 30 for this specific keyword, which was air freshener for car, for example. And then what I've done is I've sorted by that relevancy. And all of a sudden, I've got the most relevant keywords in order. And so as many as this is, if you look in the 2s, 2 would be lower relevancy. You'll notice that once you get into the 2s, the keywords start to become a little bit less relevant. You're going to find brands, for example. So like this one is Nature Fresh air purifier bags. But you still have some relevant ones like car deodorizer, right? Now, if you go down to the 1s, you'll notice that it starts to get a little bit more spotty. You'll have keywords that definitely aren't relevant mixed with some that are. And once you got into the 0s, very few of them are relevant. So we've managed to take a list that had, I don't remember offhand, but it was probably in the thousands and thousands of keywords. We were able to narrow it down. If you only did the 2 and ups, we were able to narrow it down to 99 keywords with at least 500 search volume and a relevancy of at least 2, which, for the most part, most of these are pretty relevant. And so this is a pretty broad keyword with a lot of opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Then what we did is I wanted to see, well, how good are the sellers? So I did the same thing that I did across, where I looked at, okay, out of those 99 keywords, well, it was less than 99 because there were spaces, but let's say this was, I did only to the 3s on this, so it's D6 to D67. Out of those keywords, which was 61 keywords, let me see if it was 61, sorry, 62. So out of the 62 keywords that I considered relevant, down to the 3 relevancy, which is super relevant, how many are they ranked in the top 30 for? And this seller is only on the top 30 of 18 of them. What that tells me...
Just to unpack that for a second.
Yeah.
So when you're saying 18 of the top 30, you mean the top 30 organic listings, on that page, only 18 of them had that keyword that they actually ranked for, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So this one seller is only on 18 of 62 potential keywords with at least 500 search volume that I would consider relevant for that type of product. So that shows me that only 29% of the time, there are only 29% of the keywords they're ranking for, that they should be ranking for, right? So that shows me that they're very, very beatable, that they're not very good. But if we look at the 2 sellers to the right, we got one that's at 90% of them and 75%. That's why I put them in orange. These guys I would consider pretty good at Amazon. This guy I consider very good at Amazon. He's on 90% of them. This guy I consider pretty good at Amazon. And then the guys in yellow I would say are okay at Amazon, but beatable. I might do this product and then it would take me months to compete with the 2nd and 3rd seller.
Yeah.
I might be number 3 in this niche for months and have to expect that. But I can probably beat everybody else within 30 to 45 days if I'm doing my launches correctly and then constantly targeting new keywords. And so that's the difference between our strategy and others, is that once we mine and find the keywords, we then attack them. We're constantly doing launches, and we're trying to move how many keywords we're on the first page for. Oh, I don't know why that happened. We're trying to move how many keywords are that we're on the first page for. And get better and better ranks on all of them, not just the few. And I think that's the issue, is that a lot of sellers don't know how to find these keywords to begin with. And then they stop once they have a little bit of success and move on to the next product. And they get complacent. And so once you're ranking for 3 to 5 or 7 or 10 keywords, you might think that you crushed it, and then you're on to the next product because you're making 20 sales a day. But what you don't know is that if you find the right product, and let's say the market leader is selling 50 a day, but he's only on 50% of the good keywords, you might be able to sell 75 or 100 a day. And that happened with one of our products. We launched a product, it's been one of our best-selling products for over a year and a half now. And when I first looked at the product, I thought that I'd be happy with 30 or 40 a day. The market leader at the time was selling 50 a day. By the time we got done launching that product a few months later, we were selling 150 a day. And the best seller after us was only selling 60 or 70 at that point.
So how do you, can you talk a little bit about how your strategy around ranking for those keywords? Do you rank for a certain amount and then launch on other ones, or do you kind of shift them around on your listing, or do PPC? How do you help with the ranking on some of those? So it's just a matter of having it in your listing.
Yeah, it used to be much easier with just ranking, rank strategies and just throwing a bunch of units at it, right? And now you can't. So you do essentially still throw units at it, but like through services like Rebate Key. Disclosure, I'm one of the owners of Rebate Key. So about 30 of us in MDS, which is the mastermind that we spoke about earlier, we crowdfunded that. And so we did it because it was a full purchase, and then they would get mailed a rebate check 35 days later. And we knew that the trend was moving to where Amazon doesn't like high discount sales, for example. So we've grown that product, and it's going really well and a great tool. But it moved from us being able to just throw a bunch of units at it to PPC plays a much larger role now, where we're taking these master keyword lists, and instead of going to 500, when we're ready to do our launch, we'll go much deeper. We might go down to 25 exact searches a month. And 25 searches a month might only generate you a sale a week, right? Maybe 2 sales a week. But if you have 1,000 of those, it adds up very quickly. And so they're much easier to rank for as well. So what we do is we end up throwing all of those into exact campaigns and targeting them very, very aggressively from the beginning, so that during our honeymoon period, which is like the 2 to 3 weeks, probably close to 3 weeks after you launch your product, you can rank very quickly for keywords. And if you're targeting all of the correct keywords, all the relevant ones, and you're very aggressive about it, you can get ranked very quickly on the lower search volume keywords. And then those few sales that are coming in organically after that first week really start to push up every other keyword, because Amazon gives you credit across almost every other keyword that is close to the keyword that you're targeting due to relevancy. And so the more relevant you can show Amazon a route or a type of keyword is, the more they're going to reward you across all similar keywords. And so this strategy has been very, very good for us.
Yeah, you mentioned something there that I just want to bring up again, because I know a lot of people in here will know about it, but maybe some of the audience won't, is this idea of a honeymoon period, which is, in that first 2 to 3 weeks, Amazon loves new products, and they love new ideas because they obviously want to bring those to their customers. So they're going to give you a shot for the first 2 to 3 weeks and give you some traffic and expose you, and hopefully see that you can convert really highly. And if you do convert really highly during that period, they're going to give you more juice, more traffic, and you're going to be really successful. If in that first 3 weeks you don't really convert and get a great conversion, it's going to probably just say, hey, you know what, you had a shot, you didn't do it, and then it's going to be really tough to get back. So that first 3 weeks about being aggressive on your PPC, having the right keywords, everything is super critical.
Yeah, so hitting the ground running from the beginning, and you notice that a lot of I say gurus very loosely, but a lot of people just selling courses that aren't sellers, and a lot of people with YouTube channels and stuff and podcasts, they'll tell you, just buy 200 units and test it and see how it goes or whatever, right? And they'll tell you, yeah, just when you start off, just do like an auto campaign for the first 2 weeks, get some data, and then do some other campaigns. You're just blowing that honeymoon period, because the way that Amazon ranks your product is about not just conversions, but also sales through specific keywords. So if the way that they're actually calculating it is their algorithm takes into account many different averages. So you have like a 1-day average, and I don't know the exact days, and I don't know that anyone actually does, but let's say it's a 1-day average, a 3-day average, a 7-day, a 15, a 30, and a 45-day average. The day you launch, you have no data. All you have is that 1-day average. Now, if you launch a product and let it sit there for 15 days, now you have a bunch of zeros that are averaged in. That's when you're blowing your chance. That's when you're going to make it much harder on yourself. And that's why it takes more units later than it would if you hit the ground running, because you have to fight off all those zeros and then just wait until they're far averaged out. And then it takes a lot more effort and money to launch a product that has negative sales history for that reason.
Gotcha. Awesome. Awesome. Do you want to dive a little bit more in there, or do you think we've covered?
I think, like, I don't know, do you do a questions thing?
Yeah, we're going to do a question.
Yeah, because
so I think it's going to come up with a bunch of questions as well.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to mention to the audience here, if you haven't checked it out, this whole idea of exact search volume has taken a bit of a change on Amazon of late, where a lot of the tools were getting access to exact search volume, and then that kind of went away. We found a way to bring that back through the brand API, and we've built a free tool. So if you want to check it out, it's called keywordsonfire.zonguru.com. It's free, and basically what you'll get from that is you can enter any keyword, and it will return the exact search volume, but also the click percentage and the conversion percentage of the top 3 competitors on that keyword. So when you're starting to assess the competition and trying to assess who's good and who's not, it's something worth having a look at. So and it's free, guys. You can just go to that and put it out there and try it. And if you have any feedback, send that to us. But again, that's stuff that we're going to build into our proper full keyword tool as well. Cool. So I'm going to come back to some other general questions later, but I think because we're in this right now and everyone's mind is there, I think we should open up to some Q&A, and maybe you guys have a few questions that you want to shout at. So I'm going to hand this out. I don't know if Juan, do you want to just hand this around? Yeah.
I'm streaming as well.
There you go. There you go.
So you actually brought up a really good point that I'm actually really curious about. So you said a lot of Amazon gurus and people say, hey, test out the product in 200 units, do an hour campaign, see how it goes, and then go from there. So in your experience, how would you test the product then? If you've done research already, but you still are a little unsure, or maybe you are sure, but let's just say you aren't sure in this case. How many units would you get for your first, order? And then how would you test it?
So the simple answer, and not to be a dick or anything, but if I'm not sure, I don't do the product. The data tells me very clearly what I should do and shouldn't do. If I look at this chart and it's all orange, I'm not going to do it. If I look at the chart and I only see 1 or 2 good sellers and then everything else is green, I'm going to go do that product. The other thing is, if I know the market and I know the search volumes of the keywords that are generating sales, and I know which keywords I'm going to target on my launch, and I can factor in a little bit more for marketing, and I can factor in a little bit more for PPC, for example, I can get a pretty accurate number how many units I need based on how my competitors are selling, how many sales they're getting from each keyword. So that data, if you drive this out even further, like there's a way to do, because position, this is getting way too complicated, and there's the whole worksheet that I created for it, and it's accurate to an extent, but where you are on the page generally determines what percentage of the sales you get.
Right.
So if a product is very straightforward and everything is the same on the page, not fashion oriented, for example, then the top 3 are going to share the majority of the sales. So if you know their positions in the top 3 of a keyword, then you know that they're generating a lot of those sales. So the way that I did a worksheet is that I actually did what I call a weighted search volume. And so, like, let's say they're on position 7, I know that they're probably getting a smaller percentage of the sales from that keyword. If they're on the bottom of that page, they're probably getting an even smaller percentage of the sales for that keyword. And by the time I map out the ranks for all of the sellers, I can give you a really close idea of how many sales per month each seller is getting. And so if I need to buy 2 months of inventory because of lead times, I can tell you pretty accurately how many units I need to launch that product.
Just as a rule, what is your lead time that you generally look at? Is it 2 months or 3 months, or is it really dependent on
It
the
ranges
supply?
between 2 and 3 months, depending on whether it's an air, fast boat, or sea shipment.
Okay.
Because you need a few weeks of buffer, and then you need your lead time from the factory and shipping. And then I can tell you pretty accurately how many units I need to order based on how many my competitors are selling and how they're getting their sales, which keywords, et cetera, and which keywords I'm going to target.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who's next?
You mentioned that you don't want to blow
Yeah, that's why we go really wide with the PPC to begin with. When we're launching, we might be targeting 3 to 5 keywords aggressively, but our PPC is probably targeting all 1,000 or more keywords at the same time. And then when there's one hero keyword, if you only launch at that one hero keyword, and then you have no sales coming from anywhere else to give you credit towards that keyword, no matter what, you're going to fall off of it. So let's say the top seller in this example is on 56 keywords, and he's number 3 on the best keyword. Do you think that you can get to number 3 and push him to 4 and ever stay ahead of him if you're only on 1 or 2 keywords? There's no way, because the other 55 keywords where he's on the top 30 and generating sales are all going to add credit towards that main keyword too. So it all accumulates. Even if it's a small percentage, it's still going to push him ahead of you no matter what. You would have to be throwing a ton of units at it, and you're just going to slide anyway. So the best strategy is always to go wide. And if you have one hero keyword with like 40,000 search volume, and then you have 10 other keywords in the 5 or 10,000 search volume, go after those 10 first. You know, don't try to go after that one. You're just you're lighting your money on fire.
If you go after the big one first, right, and once you do have the big one, then you're going to also get credit for all the small ones you're going to move up with it.
No, so it really depends. It wouldn't be all the smaller ones. Like if you look at this example that's on the screen, so air freshener is one way to call it, but then you have car scent, and then you have refresheners, and then you have purifiers, right? So each of those are different roots. And so if your one main hero keyword doesn't have all of the roots in it, then you're not going to get credit for all the roots, or as much credit. The way you build your listing also matters, because every sale you get, they check your listing and give you credit, but you get a lot of credit for each root of the keyword you're targeting too. So it's a combination.
I'll add something to that.
Yeah.
Just to talk about that point of converting and not having any reviews, I might be stating the obvious, but you've also got to, first and foremost, make sure that your product is differentiated and it stands out from the competition. So even if you're going for the bigger keywords, you should be looking at the top competitors and saying, hey, how can I beat them through my listing and my photos and my product? And if you do a really good job on that, even with PPC on some of the big keywords, you can convert even if you don't have that many reviews. So, you know, just make sure you're answering that question up front. If I show on this page with all the competitors, how can I stand out and be better than everyone else? And if you can do that first, you're going to crush it, yeah.
Also, one last thing, every time you're targeting a new keyword, will you change the beginning of your title to be that keyword you're targeting?
No, you want to optimize your listing properly from the beginning. Relevancy and search volume are the two most important things. So you want the most relevant and highest search volume in the beginning of your title. And then you want to use as many exact phrases as possible. So you might have 2 or 3 exact phrases in your title, and then you're going to use exact phrases everywhere else. But if you have to change your title more than 1 or 2 times in the first couple months, then you didn't do a good job in the beginning of optimizing it. And you'll find that later when you're running PPC campaigns and you're not getting impressions. If you bid $10 a click and you're still not getting impressions, the main reason is because Amazon doesn't think it's relevant and you're not indexed for it. And you might need to change, but you can change if it's also a relevant keyword with a lot of search volume. It should have probably been in your title anyway, or you then need to add it to your back end and you can redo your title. But that's like a last resort effort. You usually don't want to mess with your title. You want to do the research ahead of time and build it properly from the beginning.
All right, we're getting the mic up here.
So earlier you said that you are pretty confident that you have an 80% success rate.
Mm-hmm.
So on those 20% failures, what happens where you're like, oh, that's failure?
Yeah, I mean, it might just be choosing the wrong pattern, color, size, offer. The market may have changed. Like, there's been a lot of reasons over the last year that we've had failures. If I let my wife choose the design, sometimes it's not the right one. So I'm gonna get in trouble later. No, but let's say we do something with fashion-oriented, a pattern, right? It just might not convert as well as like the polka dot one, and then the stripe. We did a stripe one, for example, right? And so our conversion rate's 20% versus 30, and we're just never gonna stick. So there are those failures, and that's 20% where we lose money. Where we just burn it and say we're not going to do that again. We still have another 30% where we probably break about even, where we're just like, this product, the market's squeezed, we have to really lower our price a lot to keep up with the competition. It's just not as good as we would necessarily wanted it to be, so we're just going to discontinue that product. And then the other 50% we usually continue with, and they're pretty successful.
You mentioned one of your first products or earlier products where you were expecting 40 sales a day, and then you got 150 sales a day. I've had this experience, but at a smaller scale. And what happens is I want to launch new products and variations, but I just can't keep up with that first product. So what's your experience been like with cash flow? What's your advice?
Yeah, I was just about to ask. That's a cash flow issue.
Yeah.
Get debt, like borrow money. So there's a lot of lenders that'll give money to Amazon businesses. Cabbage, for example. If Amazon's not offering you a loan, go to Cabbage with a K. They have an API, or they tie into your Amazon account, so they can see your inventory turnover. They can see your sales, and they'll give you up to $100,000. And then after you have good record with them, they'll give you up to $250,000 at a better rate even. So borrow, do whatever you have to. Go to if you're in business for more than a year to 2 years, you have 2 tax returns, go to a bank. Show them your sales, show them your revenue, show them your tax returns, show them your growth. They'll give you a line of credit. Apply for any type of debt you can to grow the business, because there's no better investment right now. I mean, we make a lot of money, and all of it goes straight back into the business. We have opportunity to buy real estate, to buy investment properties, to turn into rentals and stuff. And I wouldn't spend a dime outside of Amazon. What I do is I just create another account with more brands, and I launch more products. And I think that the ROI that I'm getting on my money is just unparalleled. People were into blockchain and into Bitcoin 2 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know how you have money to put into Bitcoin, because I'm putting every dime into Amazon, right? And for a while I was like, am I dumb for doing that? But now I realize I wasn't. So.
One thing. Just one other tip, check out Alibaba as well. Alibaba give out great loans at super low percentages, because they want your money. So, if you're buying through Alibaba, check out them, because they'll give you a loan pretty easily as well. Next question. Right there.
I have a question about providing a product. If you, beyond the honeymoon phase, start selling, validating the product, if went from 0 to about 42K in 90 days, PPC alone. My listing was disrupted with some hijackers, or not hijackers, but bogus infringement claims. Down my listing for up to 2 weeks a couple times. Came back in the market with a differentiated product. The reviews are good. It's still under 15 reviews, kind of new, but it's getting impressions, but just the sales velocity is not there.
So when you change your product, do you think that your conversion rate changed? Like they don't want your product versus the old design?
It seems like that. The old design is very oversaturated. I'm brand registered, and it's still just the sales.
Yeah, so it sounds like your conversion rate dipped a little bit. Anytime you're out of stock or down, like if let's say you have an infringement, do your best to close your account or to close your listing. If you have to, go into your back end, remove your images. Suppress your own listing, right? Even if you think, sometimes you'll have an active listing and then you click on it and you get the dogs, right? You get the Amazon dogs. There's something going on in the back end that you need to sort out with Amazon. In the meantime, remove your images and close your listing. Just suppress it, get it so you're not accumulating any negative history. The point is, though, you had some positive in the back, in the previous, in your history. So you have a lot of reviews that you want to salvage, right?
That's a previous product that.
Oh, it's previous.
I stopped selling.
Oh, okay. So there's a whole new launch.
Whole new launch, same.
We've done it where we've pulled all the inventory and then relaunched it. We're just okay, that didn't work, and we need to try again. So we've done a relaunch, and sometimes it's where we've even sent the next order into a new listing and tried again because we didn't approach it properly. If you're only launching with PPC, you're way behind. It's almost impossible to rank well with just PPC unless the market's wide open. Unless you look at this chart and it's all green, you're not going to be able to do it. Because I guarantee that the percentage of sales coming in for these competitors that are ranked well, those yellows and oranges, they're taking those PPC spots plus the top spots on those keywords. They're generating more sales between the PPC and those top spots than you're going to be able to generate with just the PPC. So how are you ever going to rank ahead of them, right? So you need to generate more sales than them in order to rank higher. And you just need to pick your keywords and choose your battles.
What methods are you launching with? I mean, I think
We're doing a lot of ManyChat, list building, group building. We have Facebook groups. We've purchased Facebook groups. We're building our own Facebook groups. We work with admins of other Facebook groups. We have large ManyChat lists where we're constantly writing flows for ManyChat. And we're also doing rebate key, and which is a rebate to the buyers. So we're doing all that in conjunction with a very aggressive PPC.
thank you.
Yeah, no
Great
problem.
union, by the way.
Huh?
I'm great union, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go,
No,
cousin.
yeah. One more? All right, let's close it with this last question.
So earlier you said that some people were getting suspended for using certain URLs, and this ties in also into a question I have about getting reviews. So when you launch a product, how important are reviews to you? Because I know that you already have your own PPC, you already have your own ManyChat. But how important are reviews to you? Also, do you know which kind of URLs were getting these people suspended, and kind of what people are doing with acquiring reviews that are kind of getting them in trouble?
Yeah, so I highly recommend not using any URL you generate yourself. All right, that's the first thing. The second thing is especially don't use a URL that you generate yourself that has that has in it QID. QID is a timestamp. QID equals, and then it has numbers. Those numbers are a time. So it's very trackable by Amazon how you get into the site and how you're making your sales. And so they're able to just see when that was generated and then when someone else clicked on it. They can tell. And so what ends up happening is they know that you're distributing these for the purpose of rank manipulation, and then it's very easy for them to just ding you for it, right? So there are sites out there. Do you have an affiliate with Pixelfy?
Yeah, you can mention them.
Okay, all right. So two of the guys, I think it's just two, Nick and Fernando, who are local down here, buddies of ours in MDS. They started a site called pixelfy.me. So Leo Lemon, who's the CTO of that site, is also the owner and CTO of like Zon Pages, for example, Rebate Key. Just a brilliant seller and programmer. He created what they call a supreme URL, which is a type of timestamp URL. So he has computers, he has thousands of servers, and I don't know the exact science behind it. I'm not a computer scientist. But I just know that it's generated real time and then fed to the buyer. So that Amazon, when they look at that QID, they know that it matches, and then you're okay. So that's a type of URL I would probably continue to use, because I know that even if Amazon's been known to also, another thing to worry about is like if you do generate your own, if it doesn't have the QID, Amazon will often just randomly change their URL extension. They'll just change the structure of their URLs. And then if you're using the old one still, they'll be able to tell. And then you'll get in trouble that way. But if it's being generated real time, when someone clicks on it, then it's always going to be accurate and up to the minute, right? Up to the second even. So that's a URL we trust. What was the other part of your question? Besides URLs?
Oh, yeah. So how important are reviews for you when you're launching?
Okay, so on the review side, we do our best to throttle our reviews. Like on Rebate Key, you can message the buyers. We don't do it because I think that those are people that are going to get targeted by a lot of the sellers to try to leave reviews. We don't want patterns like that. We don't want those people leaving reviews for us. We want to avoid those issues, so we don't use it. And we try to stay below even 5%. I know that the percentage that you can have as far as reviews can be much higher, 10, 15%, and you're probably okay. But if you try to keep below 8 or 5% as far as a review rate for total of sales, so for every 100 sales, if you're only getting 5, then you'll probably be okay. So in the first few weeks, we might only have 10, 15, 20 reviews, depending on the product. And that's okay. I think that what matters is you'll turn a corner at some point where your ranks start to come up, your organics start to come up, because your launches are starting to take effect. And at that time, the organic is what matters more.
PM here. Awesome. Thanks, guys, for all the questions. Maybe just to wrap up, we can touch a little bit on, a little bit of like you've got into this business, like, what have you been enjoying about it? tell us a little bit about how this business has changed your life. What's your why behind it? You know, a little bit of just like how fascinating this industry is.
What's not to love about this business? It's fantastic. You make a lot of money. You could travel the world. You could do it from anywhere. Like, I know that a lot of people make money on Amazon by arbitrage, but you have to be shopping every day. You have to be processing things. Like, you could literally spend the next part of the year not working and make, $1 million. What's not to love about it, right? The goal is to put processes into place and start to remove yourself from the business. And, when you first start, you have to wear all the hats, so it's a lot. We're still not, like I said, my weakness is still hiring, so I'm still doing a lot of the work with my wife, and she probably does the bulk of it since I started helping other sellers. And it's just a lot of work. But there's no greater opportunity, and I think that one of the reasons I love teaching others is because I like to empower others to do well. And I think that if you guys become millionaires and $1 million sellers and start crushing life, you're going to naturally give back to others. And I think that what you can put out, you get back in a large percentage, and I love to do that. So I feel so fulfilled doing this and helping others, and having the freedom to do it. There's no greater feeling.
Yeah, it's that whole idea of like getting to a point in your wealth in your life where purpose becomes a much bigger focus and giving back, and it's great that you're there and doing that, man. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Guys, I think that's it. So we're going to wrap up. If you guys are interested in checking out ZonGuru, we have an all-in-one tool set. So I think we have 12 tools right now. So check it out, from product research through to a bunch there. So just check it out. If you go to our Facebook page, there'll be a link there. You guys get a free trial. I think there's a 20 or 30% off. And I will definitely reach out to you guys when our keyword tool is live for you guys to test and check it out. I think it's going to be a massive game changer, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, we'll have another one in about a month, and it's anywhere from this size crew to about 100. It just varies on the time of day, and this is a Monday and tax day, so it was nice to have a little intimate group here for sure. But Brandon, thank you, man, for sharing all that knowledge. This will be recorded, and you guys can get access to this to go back and check out notes as well. And hopefully we'll hang around a little bit to answer some questions in person. But thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.